Hello, I'm Paul here. Today I'm going to be going over kind of a new strategy. Haven't talked about this kind of strategy on my channel yet, but it's kind of how to find good moments between longer and shorter time frames. You have to work with longer time frames and then a shorter time frame in order to see the kind of results. And by doing this, it's something I don't usually have in my charts is using wicks. And we're going to see, I'll use a couple examples because you guys find when the wicks when the wicks are at a certain point. So we'll find that in the chart. We'll find some examples. But I want to try and do this when the market is active. So I'll try to hopefully find some examples while the market is still going. But anyway, this is basically off of you focus on the longer time frame, and then you kind of just zoom in a little bit closer at a shorter time frame. So let's take a look at this strategy. Okay, so this strategy is very simple. You want to focus on the day, and you basically want to focus on the high and the low. It's good to find a good point where two candles are pretty much next to each other, but we're not finding that here. But I'll just show you this as an example here. You want to make sure you get your trading view to where it shows high and low. That way they're easy to kind of spot. And what I would do is I'd look at the high and low points on the daily or higher time frame. I mean, you could be doing this on the day and then the 4 hour or the 4 hour and the hour or the hour and like the 15 minute. So longer time frame, shorter time frame. And anyway, you want to just draw a line on the daily where the high and lows are for the day, and you just draw your line. And that you want to make sure you put your note here. This is the daily low, and this up here is the daily high. This is for Bitcoin. You can use this for anything. You can use it for Forex. You can use it for futures. So now that we have the high and the low on the day, we can then go into a shorter time frame. I wouldn't really do 6 hour. We can do hour or 15 minutes. So what we basically want to do is, what we know is if it gets close to that line on the daily, it's probably going to bounce, because this is where the low for the day is, and it's more likely to have a bounce the closest it gets to that. So that's really what you want to focus on. And also what you want to focus on is you can look at your stochastic RSI and just take note of when the line is, doing what it's doing right now. So from what we could tell, because we did this on the daily here, we see this the stochastic right now it's going down. But what we can see, since we did our daily low right here, what's probably going to end up happening, this is going to be for longer than an hour, but it's probably going to go down a little bit. It's going to touch this daily low, and then it's going to probably bounce up a little bit. So that's what you got to look for. Basically, you want to catch it when it starts bouncing back up, because it's close to the daily low right here. So what you want to do is you want to keep your eye on the stochastic RSI, and the moment this blue line starts crossing back is probably a good point of getting in. It's one of them. And that is the example of doing this on the daily. Let's do this on a closer time frame. And let's do the hour. And we'll basically do the same thing if you don't want to wait for a while and you want to do, your trade more often. We can do it on the hour here. So basically what we got here is, this is from the last, let's just zoom in here. We want to get closer. we really want to get closer here. Okay, so this is going to be the last. We don't want to do that. Okay, right here is pretty good. So we got the last maybe 10 hours or so right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw our line right where the wick ends, and you can see right here. So draw our line, and we draw our line. So this is the last 10 hours or so. So what we want to do is the same thing. Since we have our lines for the hour, you also want to do your notes. You want to make sure you know that this is the hourly top. And this is the hourly bottom. So what you can basically predict from this is if it gets close to the top, it's probably going to bounce down. If it gets close down, because you see the wicks right here. If it gets close to up here, it's probably going to bounce down. If it gets close to here, it's probably going to bounce up. And you want to make sure you're also looking at your stochastic RSI. You want to make your moves when they get close to those points. So what we want to do is, since we have it on our hourly top, you want to go zoom in a little bit closer. You can zoom in closer on, you can do it on the 15 minute. You can do the 15 minute or the 5 minutes. So basically, you just watch. You watch these candles, and you make sure whenever they get close to here on the hour, then, because by looking at it on the hour, you got your hourly top and hourly bottom. So you keep your eye on the candles, keep your eye on the stochastic RSI as well, and as soon as it gets close to here, you should see a little bit of a bounce. So anyway, that's just a little thing. This will work for crypto. It'll work for, now if you're doing this for Forex, what I would recommend, if you're doing the same thing for Forex, now for Forex, what do you want to do? You want to do the same thing. So let's just run by this real quick. We're going to look at the day. And we basically want to get our highs and lows. I think I already did that. So this is the Australian dollar, and the highest point was right up here. The lowest point was right down here. So what we want to look at, we can look at that on the hour. But basically, whenever it gets close to these points, it will probably do a little bit of a bounce, because those are for the day. And you also want to keep your eye on the stochastic and see what it does. When it starts crossing, when it starts getting up here on the daily, on the Australian dollar, and then it starts curving down, kind of like what it's doing right now, that's a good point to get in for a trade. But for me, this is too soon, because it needs to be more up here, in my opinion. And for down here, it needs to be more down here. But what do you want to look for? You want to look for it to be up here or down here, and look at the stochastic for it to, start pushing through the orange and blue line there. And you also want to keep your eyes on the RSI as well. But anyway, that's a pretty good strategy for using this by checking out the highs and lows. You find a higher time frame, and then you zoom in a little bit closer with a shorter time frame. Anyway, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in future videos.